My thoughts on Year 6, Season 3. Alright, first things first, holy shit, I'm actually running the modifier. I thought I'd actually try it out to, see how it performs and progresses. I mostly hate it. Let's actually go over the modifier first. I know a lot of people are excited to get this on like run and gun builds. However, for like DPS builds, it's actually incredibly weak. There are ways around it, like the overdrive thing that just maxes it out for you, and then if you can maintain it, fine. But before that, it's a ball ache to get up. And while you have it active for DPS builds, it's nowhere near as powerful as a lot of people are making it out to be. So just looking at this from like max, the weapon damage at unstoppable is 20% weapon damage. This is actually pretty weak. It only works out to like a 7-ish%. It's going to be wholly reliant on your expertise as well. If you want to get the most out of it, use an expertise 0 weapon. If you really just don't care, put it on like expertise 28 have we got now, and it works out to like a 6% DPS increase. This is like the same with skill damage. It's really not that strong. It's in general. Same with skill damage. The movement speed I find wholly useless. I know a lot of people like it. It's fun. It does nothing for your gameplay. The enemies can still shoot you. If you get too close to them too quickly, they still punch you. Yeah, the movement speed to me is just a null and void argument overall. The reload speed is actually quite nice. There are a few weapons that really need it. However, the real thing that actually makes this powerful for DPS builds is the fire rate, plus 25%. This works out to, as long as you're not using strikers, near enough, it's like 24.5%, ridiculous. 25% pretty much increase in DPS. This is great. If you're running strikers, it works out to about 21% because obviously it's not going to have as great an effect. However, where momentum is really shining is when you get it at max, you basically can just have permanent overcharge. This is actually ridiculously powerful, especially with things like Eclipse builds, which are able to build momentum stacks passively really bloody quick, as well as mortar, seeker builds, just explosive builds in general, and it does see some use, quite a lot of use realistically, in your standard turret drone builds, but they're also kind of in a similar place to how just DPS builds work. Essentially, momentum is weakest on DPS, then your turret and drones, then I think mortars and seekers, although they can hit a lot harder, they're a lot less active. There's the longer cooldowns and other things happen and things move. However, where momentum is really shining is things like Eclipse. Eclipse is literally rocking the day with momentum. It's kind of unreal. Now, to go back to the fire rate part of it really quick, there does seem to be, shock or a gasp, Division 2 bugged? Never. Yeah, there does seem to be a bug. It's wholly dependent on your fire rate as well. So if you're able to get to a certain level of fire rate, I haven't figured out what it is yet. It seems to be around 1,000 or just over 1,000. I've noticed it on FAMAS. I've noticed it on Pestilence. I've noticed it on a few other things in conjunction with strikers getting momentum at max. It's like the game registers your firing, but the shot doesn't apply or register on the enemy. So yeah, look into that however you want. It seems really bizarre. Essentially, kind of meaning that you're actually really not getting the full benefit of the fire rate buff on some of the faster firing weapons. Which, for those of you that might remember, the reason in which Ouroboros got its first nerf after release was because it was firing. The fire rate was so high, shots weren't registering. It seems like that's kind of now back, but it's dependent on what weapon you're using, with strikers specifically for the moment from what I have tested, which is, great. There was one thing that I was massively disappointed in, the frenzied enemies. It's one of the main reasons I was actually really wanting to look into doing the modifiers, because the frenzied enemies sound like fun. It sounded quite engaging. I was thinking like a brand new dynamic. There's one problem that I have at the moment. I'm on like journey 5, trying to been progressing through the journey, and apparently on Journey 4, there's this thing of kill like 80 frenzied enemies, which I've done. I haven't seen a frenzied enemy. Now, I don't mean this is random enemies are applying or counting as being a frenzy. What I mean by this is I thought there would at least be like a bit tougher, a bit more engaging, a bit more, something about them that actually didn't make me feel like it's just the same mindless crap over and over and over again. No, they die just as bloody easily as everything else. Because I haven't even registered that they're there. They're just dead. Like, I was streaming in Discord earlier with like a few friends, and they're like, oh no, he's dead. And I was like, there's a what? There's a what? Oh, you killed a frenzied enemy. I did? Yeah, he's got like a weird glowy red. And I'm like, well, the red part don't help because I'm colorblind, but so I've started looking out for glowy enemies, and yeah, they just die too quick. So I'm really disappointed by that. Weird complaint to have. Shit too squishy. The expanded stash space is obviously really nice. I'm sure we're all absolutely ecstatic about that. The change of the Exodus gloves was very, very welcome. I'm really happy they listened to the community on that. Bit weirded out that they changed the refactor gear set. They've reduced it from like 15 to 10 or something. Like they've nerfed it slightly, but at the same time, I also kind of get that because in groups, especially if you had like more than one person playing refactor, the amount of heals that you got was ridiculously ridiculous, to be perfectly honest. And of course, the buff to the perfect pressure point, and then as an extension, the pressure point talent going from 15 to 20, and then obviously 10 to 15 for the normal. That is very much a welcome change. I am also kind of annoyed that they've put the Birdie's Quick Fix as the reward for the master mission and not the gloves. At least that way there would have been an actual decent incentive for a good item upon completing the master mission this time around, rather than a useless chest. Instead we get a I personally find it entertaining. I don't think it's going to be particularly good, but I like the idea behind it. However, in reality, the Birdie's backpack is mostly going to just be a useless pile of crap. Another exotic component for us. Congrats. I don't understand why the devs are making us do all this extra work to get a really, really bad item. It's just not incentive to do the scouts, or whatever they're freaking called now. The manhunt. Of course, as well, there's a plethora of shiny new bugs. One of which is the journey is not completing across all of your characters when you complete it. So now if you do all of your journeys on character 1, swap to character 2, you can do the journey again and get a shit ton of season XP, which is how people are now cheesing the season pass grind thing. Little old me over here at season 26, still trying to work through it and play the game. I do like that they've added in the fact that I can now just play whatever I want and I will get season XP, which is nice because now I'm not being forced directly to play how the game dictates how I want to play, which is a nice change. The amount of season XP you get is horrific, so it's kind of still forcing you, because I very much doubt anyone would actually be able to complete the season just by doing normal gameplay and earning the season XP reward. It's a really stupid way they've done it. I still don't like it. I still think it's shit. They absolutely 100% need to revert this. It's crap. That also being said, the season XP is not being given correctly. There's been a few times now, I believe it even happened during the recording of this video, of where I line up a event or a mission from the priority objectives, and it's like, oh yeah, if you do this, you'll get 400 XP, and then I complete it, and the priority reward season XP is like 150. And it's like, where's the rest of it? Thanks for that. However, the changes that happen with the amount of XP that you get seems to fluctuate massively, so I can't figure out what's actually doing it. Infuriating me a lot. In short, it is a far cry better than TU22. The modifier is less invasive, less annoying, less overpowered. We're not hitting like 11 million a shot on an AR, which is great. This modifier does actually allow some builds that have slipped away from the forefront of the game, skill builds, status builds, etc., to actually come forward a little bit and do something extra, which is kind of nice, especially if you are a skill build player. You might actually now be able to keep up with some of those DPS players. Congratulations. But at the same time, in my humble, or well, not so humble opinion, really, the best modifier in the game is the difficulty select. Heroic, challenge, hard, normal, story. Like, if you really want to feel OP, just put your game on friggin' story. But here we are, we're getting overpowered power creep for no reason. And the part that I find particularly funny is all of the people that I see being like, oh yeah, these modifiers are great, they're really powerful. They'll also be the first people to click on like a China Vision video and be like, oh, the power creep here is unreal. The power creep in modifiers is unreal, my guy. The weird change that they've done to the season XP of where you can complete everything, nice idea. Poorly implemented, because I'm still kind of forced to do things how the game decides I must do things, because the amount of XP you get when not doing it how the game decides is, you might as well just not give me XP. So yeah, it is a far cry better than TU22, so it's very much that they were testing things out in TU22 and TU23. They're getting there. However, I still think that this entire change to how seasons work is awful. Just put it back to how it was. Like, okay, yeah, people complained that it was boring and dull, but at least they got to play the game how they wanted. Now we don't. Anyway, have fun. Good luck. Don't die. It's bad for the health.